This is a story on the search for my mother's father. Growing up, my mother had 5 siblings, and all of them had a different father than her. She never knew her father, only that his name was Johnny Smith, according to her mother. She also was told a few other things about him: that he was short, he had a spinal injury, and that he looked like me when I was younger. Her mother met him in Oklahoma because he was in the Army stationed at the Ardmore Army Airfield Base around 1944. Once my mother's mom got pregnant, he ended up leaving the base, and she never seen him again. My mother started to look for him back in the 70s, but didn't get far in her search. Now that DNA testing is available, we decided to take DNA tests to see if we can locate information on him. I myself really started to get curious because I thought, I have a grandfather that I never met that I look like. I started to get intrigued. So we took DNA tests but didn't really see any Smiths high up or any with common people in their family trees. But the name Spraggins was matching high for some reason. I didn't know much about ancestry DNA tests at this time. It was all new to me. Once I started to get more familiar with the system, I formed a plan. Lucky for me, one of my first cousins had taken a test as well, and she was matching on my mom's mother's side. So what I did was I started to look at different DNA matches, and I looked at the shared matches with those people. If I didn't see my cousin on the list as a shared match with those people, I put their names down on a sheet of paper. Also, there were a lot of other cousins who took tests whose names I recognized, so I skipped those people. After I got about 50 names, I started to message DNA matches, copying and pasting the same message, asking them if they knew of a Johnny Smith who was in the military back in 1944, stationed at the Ardmore Army Airfield. It took some time, but one person got back to me and said that they did know of a Johnny Smith and that he had got out of the Army because he hurt his back. I thought, whoa, because I didn't tell her he had a back injury. Maybe this is him. All of the details matched, and she mentioned he has a son. We ended up contacting the son and got a photo of him. Remember, that man is supposed to look like me. So here's a picture of the man we found. And here's a picture of me when I was younger. Now raise your hand if you see a resemblance. Well, I thought I looked like the man, and so did his son. So he ended up taking a DNA test. For some reason, his test took forever to come back. Once we got in touch with him, he said we didn't match him, which seemed odd at the time because we were matching a lot of his cousins, but not all of them, and apparently not him. But looking at the picture, I don't know. How does the saying go? A picture's worth 1,000 words. So since we didn't have closure because we didn't match the son, I began to keep looking for clues. At this point, I'm getting more familiar with the DNA system. More and more matches starting to pop up high on our list, and a lot of these matches were all connected to one man named Jack Spraggins. Then I started to notice, hey, he kind of looks like my brother. What do you think? So I began to contact these Spraggins matches to try to get more information on the family. Turns out that the Spraggins family is originally from Alabama, and this Jack ended up in Mississippi. But who is he? Is he a great-grandparent? Great-uncle? With DNA, if you have a match, that means you share a parent or grandparent down the line somewhere. So with every match, there is a common match somewhere. So after contacting the highest matches on that side, I was able to find one of them on Facebook. It was really hard to get in touch with her. It took over a year for her to respond. But she happened to respond one day, right before my mother's birthday. and she told me a lot about Jack Spraggins and his sons. You see, her mom was a child of one of Jack's kids, and she shared pictures of them, but I didn't look like any of them. But my brother did. Remember, I'm trying to find someone who looks like me. There was another group of Spraggins we matched who had another Spraggins man in their tree. His name was Frank Spraggins. So I ended up messaging one of those people, and they began to tell me the story about Frank, because that was her great-grandfather. Those Spraggins were from Alabama. I asked her, did she know Jack? She said no. But she said she did see a Jack on the 1870 census. Could this be the same Jack? Well, after doing a lot of digging, I discovered it was his father, Jack Sr. It's all starting to come together at this point. At least figuring out who all these Spraggins people are. But still, no closure on who the father is. Lo and behold, we get a new match who is matching higher than everyone, and she's a young girl. I thought, I wonder who her grandparents are. They have to be like my mom's siblings or first cousins. I tried to get in touch with her, but she didn't know much. Then I seen that match that I shared with the young girl, so I messaged her, and she started to tell me about the Robertson family. There was a man named John Robertson, who was her mother's grandfather from Mississippi, and lo and behold, this John and Jack Spraggins turned out to be brothers. So now I'm curious to know if this young girl is connected to this John Robertson. I was able to find her mom on Facebook, and her mom had her mom call me since I left my number with the young girl. Turns out that the grandmother's father was the son of this John Robertson, and it turns out that John Robertson is really a Spraggins. He just took the last name of his mother at the time because he was raised by her. So it looks like my mother's father's name is really Spraggins, not Smith. What a revelation. We were able to get the grandmother to take a DNA test, and she came back as a half first cousin to my mom. So now it looks like this John Robertson / Spraggins is my mom's grandfather, and one of his sons is my mom's dad. We getting close. My mom's father had to be born in the 1920s, and this John only had one son born in the 20s, whose name is John as well. Actually, his name is Johnny. But John Robertson told the grandmother himself that he had at least 20 kids, and maybe more. So it's possible he has more out there that nobody knows about. Maybe the other Johnny Smith is one of them. Maybe Johnny Smith's son is not really his son. These are all possibilities. But John Robinson's other son named Johnny was born in 1923. And he was also in the Army in 1944. So I began to look further at him because he's matching as well. Finally was able to get in touch with the last remaining son of John Robertson. And I showed him my picture, and he said, "Yep, that's your granddaddy. You look like him, and you sound like him too." So now we just need to see a picture of him ourselves. But nobody seems to have one because he was murdered in 1960 in Cleveland, Ohio. 61 years ago. This John has one sister alive from his mother's side. So we are trying to get one from her as well. All the while, I'm trying to find my mother's father. Different DNA matches were contacting me looking for their fathers as well. I ended up helping 3 cousins find their fathers using the same methods I did trying to find my mom's, and also by using GEDmatch, another DNA site. All we need now is to get the picture of the man who was murdered in 1960 to verify if he's the man or not. Or is it the first Johnny Smith we found? If we can get his sister's DNA, that would help too. Time will tell. Wish us well.